So it's been quite the little trip, isn't it? I definitely recommend this. And I recommend it kind of remembering very little. It is not about, getting identity and all that. It's about the belief in something supernatural. God, I wish I could think of that. Part of it is that it's very difficult for people to imagine not existing. And he proves that. And I used to sort of try to do it too, but it didn't work very well. So what you can do is you ask them, okay, what's going to happen when you die? Or after you die, you'll know what happens after you die. And, well, of course, no, you won't, right? But you can't imagine yourself not existing. And if you cannot imagine yourself not existing, then it becomes easier to imagine something that isn't physical that exists. And that takes you to spirit, and eventually, through some process that I can't recall, to belief in God. Okay, and here's the kicker. Without a doubt, 100%, the best book I've ever read, bar none. And it has a really funny history, because what happens with this one is that I read it and I become so fascinated with the history of Athens and Rome and all of these things and all of the ideas that were kicking around. There's nothing new, right? They had it all figured out back then, pretty much. And that informs my thinking. I'm quite enthusiastic about what I've learned about Western civilization, and I talk about it for like years. And then I come back to this book and I realize, oh shit, I got all my ideas from this book, right? And then I read it again, and I make notations like nuts with really good books like this. And so I think that's happened twice, that I've been absolutely thrilled with this book and then forgot where the ideas came from, and continued to be enthusiastic about it, and then come back to it again and realize, oh my God. And the amazing thing about it, and I just realized this yesterday, this is the most important book that I have ever read half of. I haven't gotten halfway. And I know that I haven't gotten halfway because I know because this book is just one that I, do these things. I've not read half of it. And it's the most influential book of my life. Bar none. Absolutely bar none. This is Friedrich Nietzsche writing towards the end of his career. And he was going literally crazy. Friedrich Nietzsche had serious, I don't know what exactly it was, but he was like really big towards the end. And I don't know that you can actually see it as it happened. That changes from, beginning to end, but he was bonkers. Beyond Good and Evil and those kinds of things. He has such a bombastic, arrogant, flagrant, flamboyant, grandiose way of writing that I just loved him when I was like, I was reading this stuff like when I was 15. And I don't think I understood it very well, but I adored this guy's style. I doubt this is a good example of it. Yep. Been there. Just go snooping around here. Yeah. Okay, this is Your Brain on Music. Holy shit, these are good books, eh? The Corrections, obviously, just an awesome, good, there you go. Get this little baby. Okay, I said that The History of Philosophy was the most influential book I've ever read. This is maybe one of the most amazing. And it's about the writing of the Oxford English Dictionary. And what you might not be aware of if you're not interested in this, or, take an active interest in this kind of thing, is that the Oxford Dictionary, at least, is also a history. So it's a history of every word. And what they had to do, you won't believe this, to write the original Oxford English Dictionary, they had to read everything that was written. Because the Oxford Dictionary, I mean, it's about, how many? It's about 8 feet thick. Like, I'm not kidding. And in really tiny letters that you have to read with a magnifying glass. Not kidding. I've seen the actual thing. I don't know why they would print it. Okay, so they had to read everything, and they understood that pretty early. And they just sent out notices to really influential people or well-read people and said, okay, you got to get reading, and you got to have to find the first instance of the use of the word whatever, political. And then they would trace it back. But they could only trace it back to the point where you could say it was actually English, right? Because at some point you get politico or something isn't English, it's Latin. And so they had to read everything, and then they realized, no, you have to get, this has to be a worldwide effort. So the whole world gathered together to write the English dictionary, to read every single word that was ever written in a language roughly similar to English. And so there was a guy who took charge of it. They tried it and failed. It took like 150 years even to get organized properly. And they sent out this notice to the world, hey, let's get together and write the Oxford English Dictionary. And one guy was spectacularly good at it. He didn't comment on many words, but if something was really notoriously difficult, he could find it. And the people who were writing the dictionary, they became friends with, people who were just super good at this. Like, why wouldn't you? And they're communicating by mail. And then the big boss of this project decided that he was going to visit the guy. So he goes to visit the guy. And all he had was the address. So he shows up at the address, and it's a prison for the criminally insane. So he gets realizing, holy cramoly, I've been in communication with a guy who's in hospital for the criminally insane. He's like the best guy in the world almost. I think there are 2 or 3 like that level. And okay, so he goes in there, and the guy was a doctor during the Civil War. So that gives you an indication when this happened. And he had to operate on people that were injured during the Civil War without anesthesia. I mean, he just, God, so it drove him absolutely bonkers, and he murdered a guy. And then, okay, I'm sorry to say this, but this is the truth. So he's in the hospital, he's communicating with the writer of the Oxford Dictionary, and he gets in there and he discovers that this guy has cut his cock off. And the reason he cut his cock off was because it was so huge and he couldn't quit whacking off. He cut off his cock. And I guess that's the grand finale of the story. But Simon Winchester, he wrote a book recently about precision, about nuts and bolts and all that, just how much the modern world depends on precision. I would read anything by Simon Winchester. He's probably one of the best writers around, I guess. What else we got? Do I have two God is not great? I do. Yeah, this one got me in a lot of trouble. I was a pretty convicted anti-Christian type for a while. So brain on music, yeah, another one that occupied me for years. The last one is Oliver Sacks, a brain scientist.